Hi, guys. Okay, this is late for me. Normally I would be going to bed, but I have promised this week to deliver stories that are all tied together based on the last 10 days, 2 weeks. And the main messages are, I'll do a little recap. If you have not listened to Story 1 and Story 2, Part 1 and Part 2, Monday and Tuesday, please go back and listen to them and then listen to this. Because all of this is about banning shame. And it's like, what do I mean by that? We hear so many slogans. There are so many messages and podcasts and all of that. I am living the work as a woman and as a mother who had treatment, jail, hospitalizations to get to a point in life to live wholeheartedly, authentically. And I feel like sharing those moments in daily life is what is helping people the most. That's at least what I've heard, and I can't wait to share it all. But I don't want to promote myself. I don't feel comfortable with that. What I feel comfortable with is helping people. And now I'm consciously doing it. So versus in this way that was like a survival mode from trauma recovery that led me to addiction recovery. No, this is about helping people to walk through the way that their survivalist mind has worked. There's a different way than running to stand still and letting our minds, fears, and judgments just totally rule us. Now, I'm not talking about shutting them off. The stories that I have shared Monday and Tuesday and that I will share now give such good examples. We can't shut it off because while we are infinite spirits, whole, divine, and complete in this physical body with a mind, the goal is not to shut it off. That's when shame enters. The goal is to see how our mind is working. And when we see that it's survivalist in nature, and thank God because it's gotten the human race this far, we can see fears and judgments. Trust me, it'll be 90% of your thoughts if you start thinking about it in that way. When we can see the fears and judgments, we can prevent the mind from taking control, separating us from our truth, from our true selves. We can say, okay, I see you, fear. I see you, self-judgment. I see you, fear about another. I see you, judgment about another. I'm not going to project. I know you are my survivalist mind. It's not about shutting off the head just yet. You will be able to do that. But in trauma and addiction recovery, the first step that worked for me, that I carried into jail, treatment, hospitalizations, was I am not a body nor the thoughts my mind makes. Start just seeing those fears and judgments. Then, I promise you, you will be able to choose love, which is soul, compassion, starting with self-compassion. Starting with self-compassion that will lead you to your intuition. Part 1 Monday and Part 2 Tuesday had when I was in a parenting moment as well as in my own head, and I chose love. Again, I encourage you to listen to Part 1 and Part 2 before this Part 3. But before you hear this Part 3, just know the first 2 stories are about how, as a mother in recovery, trauma and addiction recovery. Both were so very, very much linked for me. I had to come to a point of recognizing how my mind was designed to survive in this world, to then see the fears and judgments, to then come to a point to be able, after so much time, to choose love. Love means it's our soul looking down on our mind and how it's working. In that space, I was able to be present for my kids, and I was able to say, we're in this together. That was part one. Part two was, how cool was it that after a physical health challenge, minutes later, one of my sons who heard me say that said, we're in this together, Mom. Not in a way that put weight on his shoulders like he had to take care of his mom, but in a positive, like, I'm looking forward to life because I'm in this together with my family, with people kind of way. So today, I don't like to have to start this phase, but the next two stories are about how, when the mind, in its survivalist mode, with fears and judgments, had an effect on the next generation. The only thing I care about with this book, quite honestly, as a parent and woman in recovery, quite honestly, is that my children don't have to grow up in the same way afraid of their feelings, in the same way where they will bury them. My hope is that just my kids will learn to choose love. And as I'm doing that, if this helps you, I am so, so, so happy. Home is Within You is not an average memoir. It's not like a past, present, future thing. No, it is a roadmap to truly living authentically and wholeheartedly without shame, which means the mind is in control, without shaming from the outside affecting us. So, this next part that I don't really want to get into, but I will, part 3, is when the mind, in survival mode, went into fear and judgment, okay? I told my son, we're in this together. He repeated that to me a couple days later. As we go back to the cabin on this annual summer trip, my sons want to play on their iPad. And I, having managed a lot of roles, both as a ex-spouse and then as a co-parent and then as a mother, I was cooking, and it had been over an hour that my sons were on their iPad. And I, knowing that they were now watching YouTube, and knowing, in my opinion, that they shouldn't do so much, tried to cajole them to play a card game that we were playing. One that actually one of my sons made up that kind of relates to solitaire that's pretty cool. And so I tried that, and that didn't work. And another half hour passes, and they're still on their iPads. Now, I don't think, I'm just going to say it, kids should be watching YouTube for longer than 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We're talking the short little reels. And as a mom, I'm thinking of the anxiety it's putting in him. I'm in my own fears and in my own judgments. And I'm just concerned. And I will tell you right here, right now, my own fears and judgments about their father's way of parenting were alive and kicking. The good part about that is that I try my best to not judge him, to not react in the fears to their father. And I share this here with you to help you find a different way of communicating if you are a divorced parent, if you are co-parenting. And it is tough. It is tough as a parent if you're in a situation like I was and that I am in. And so this real life story is about the truth. The truth of the matter is, I love my kids. I am doing my best with my kids. I believe my way is helping them to gain life skills, like when I said we are in this together. I also believe that their other parents' way is shame-based, is harming them. It's not always that way, but the examples I'm going to give you come from a loving place in my heart. The third time that I was trying to have my son get off his iPad after not just an hour, but over an hour on it, I went into the room and I decided to put it out in the universe and get answers. What does their father say to him? You're just a brat. Where did that come from? Fears in their father's head. Judgments in their father's head. He doesn't know another way other than living in the mind, surviving. And it breaks my heart. In the past, I would have felt on my own end, in my ego mind, powerless. I would have felt I have to exist in this presence to be the most that I can be with my children. And for those 8 days, I managed not just my own head, my kids' head, as well as their fathers, to try and keep things even keel. When it got to the point that I observed shaming of my children, he's just a brat, I had to step back. Why? Because it brought me pain. I don't want my sons to hurt like I did. What do you do in such a moment? I didn't know. I just knew that days before that, they had received the messages of part 1 and 2 of this whole series. We are in this together. We are in this situation or life together. And I had to believe that whatever I, as a mom, as an individual, as a woman in recovery, whatever I was offering, regardless of the fact that I want and need and should have more time, whatever I was offering, representing, whatever it was, whether it was the right thing or not, was enough. That was banning my own powerlessness and my own head from taking control in that situation. Now, this leads into a part 4 story, where after the positive messages, we're in this together, were spoken, and a child repeated it, and then an adult said, you're just a brat, manifested in a different way. That story I will tell tomorrow. But tonight, because it's late, I want you to know Love is what you come from. Love is your true self. Love is an infinite being, whole, divine, and complete. And nothing that anyone has said changes that. If you have heard such shaming words before in your past, like I did, not just individually, but publicly, just know it doesn't change your core worth. Okay? You are whole, divine, and complete. Please don't let your mind separate you. Recognize the fears and judgment, and then you will be able to choose love. I promise you. Please, please, please check out a free Ban Shame tip sheet, as well as a 20% discount code to order Home is Within You. Everything I'm sharing in this series is about having that safe, judgment-free space within you. It's important as an individual, and it's even more important if you are or intend on being a parent someday. The change is happening. The next generation, it won't be perfect, but all these learnings, all these struggles, all these blessings of recovery are really going to change the world. I promise you. Sending hugs, and please wait for part 4 tomorrow. If you didn't hear part 1 and 2, please listen to those, okay? If you know anybody really, really struggling, whatever it might be, please DM me and we will help them together, okay?